Welcome back, my peeps. Great to see you all back for all of you who are returning for this new installment. Or, if you're here for the first time, in that case, a gigantic bienvenidos to you. My videos are a parody of an already existing series. You don't have to pay me anything to enjoy my content. The subscribe button is right here, the like button is right there, the share button is right there. God loves you, and he loves me. Now, this installment is one that I've been itching to get done since, let's be real here, the original version has not aged well.
Annoyingly enough, yes, Batman expected this to be another easy night for him. More like paying attention, my ass. Here's what you cut out. Do you really think the supervillain that can mind control men, as you see later in the game, and has control over plant life, has anything to worry about as far as being intimidated by someone who isn't Batman?
The Botanical Gardens is said to be the oldest structure on this island, along with the Arkham Mansion, and it's based on old Gothic Victorian-era architecture. That would explain the medieval-style cages and the gargoyle statues, among other things.
How do you know he wasn't surprised before? This is the first time we actually see Scarecrow outside of a dream sequence confronting Batman, meaning we don't know exactly how he reacted when he realized he failed the first two times.
Greetings, viewers. Omega required the necessity to step away due to the projectile vomiting after once again sampling his previous not quite adequate work. If he were present, he would have informed you all that I will be assisting in correcting errors that are present in his old project of this video by Dartigan. Oh, and also, just between us, and I will say this in a low voice without subtitles, so please listen carefully. Now, as Omega returns, let us commence with the spectacle. Please relish this state-of-the-art remaster.
Batman is now en route to Arkham Island.
I suppose Gotham City Police have given up any pretense of actually doing their job, judging by this opening. They acknowledge that Batman is escorting the Joker to Arkham Asylum while they drive past the Batmobile. Joker is only one of the most dangerous men alive, having killed untold hundreds of people by this point and repeatedly broken out of prison. The least the police could do is follow along behind so people can think their tax dollars are being used for something.
The GCPD are more than likely responding to the all units call that you skipped.
Batman is now en route to Arkham Island.
With Batman having captured the biggest threat, the police should be able to handle whatever else Batman did not. And let's be real here, what police vehicle is going to be capable of keeping up with Batman anyway? Yes everyone, this opening scene is different from the old one. I would play the old one, but the second I hear my old audio, someone is going to have to call an exorcist, because it's projectile vomiting all over. SC has helped in more than just doing what I do in voiceovers, but due to its commitment with shorts projects, it can't and won't take over my job. Thank God. Anyway, to quickly summarize, I made the mistake of saying that the GCPD was already at the asylum awaiting Batman's arrival. That's not actually true. Commissioner Gordon is here, yes, But the security staff working here, though armed, are obviously not cops. Sorry for that. Let's keep on.
Having just played Arkham Origins, I know that Arkham Asylum was renovated and reopened after the events of that game to house the worst and most unstable criminals in Gotham, because Blackgate Prison suffered 2 prison riots in one night. So here we have the Joker, having broken out of Arkham Asylum, and not even its first time doing that judging by the audio logs, and all the Blackgate prisoners have been transferred here tonight after a fire. So I'm left wondering, what was even the point of reopening Arkham Asylum? You may be thinking this sin is unfair, that it's not Arkham Asylum's fault that Origins is the afterthought prequel and the 3rd game in the series. Well, I would say tough. It's not as if retroactive storytelling is anything new for comic book characters. Twisting your disbelief into a Mobius strip to make things fit once new writers take control and start changing things is part of a beloved experience. It's not like it's difficult to write something new that doesn't fly in the face of previous stories, but you have to care about what you were writing, and the Arkham series has shown very little as sacrosanct.
So unlike my original video where I cut off most of what you said to point out the ridiculous contradiction, which I'll point out again here for my consistency, you spewed a bunch of word vomit to basically justify sinning this game for continuity issues brought up in Batman Arkham Origins. Let me make it clear where I stand with this, because this person even pointlessly commented the same thing on my original video, and I didn't address it there. It is not a sin of Batman Arkham Asylum that a future game that acts as a prequel with different writers and a different development team failed to do their homework as far as continuity is concerned. It's a giant problem that I have with Arkham Origins, among other things, despite the good things the game does accomplish. Even if continuity errors still happen to this day in various forms of media, and they most certainly do, to me, it promotes lazy writing and failure to pay attention to detail. I mentioned in my Devil May Cry 5 video that I'm big on continuity, and I absolutely despise continuity changes that make absolutely no sense and have no explanations for them. Like Morrison's change in Devil May Cry 5, or Scarlet's retcon in Mortal Kombat 11. Sorry about the rant, people. Anyway, Dartigan answers his own question cliché, and your sin about continuity is for Batman Arkham Origins and has little to do with Batman Arkham Asylum.
So Joker broke out of Arkham Asylum, Batman captured him, drove him back to Arkham Asylum, and for some reason just expects it to work out this time.
Annoyingly enough, yes. Batman expected this to be another easy night for him. But his intuition told him something was wrong, hence he accompanied the Joker as far as he could.
Get that filthy degenerate out of here!
Warden, something's not right. I'm going with him.
Batman is famous for being the hero with no superpowers, but I'd argue he's been given some extra judicial ones judging by the way everyone just acquiesces to his authority. Christ, this would be a nightmare for any prosecutor. Little wonder why Harvey Dent went insane. He had to keep dealing with Batman messing up the justice system which let criminals go on technicalities.
I mean, would you really challenge a 6'2", 200+ pound martial arts master dressed as a bat? Besides, Batman deciding to accompany the Joker as he's committed really is in the best interest of the security guards and general staff. Also, there is a point where even Batman's jurisdiction is limited.
Hold it there. Sorry, Batman. Arkham staff only.
I assure you, if anyone's qualified, it's...
Listen, I appreciate the assistance, but he'll unsettle the more violent inmates.
And wait.
Christ, this would be a nightmare for any prosecutor. Little wonder why Harvey Dent went insane. He had to keep dealing with Batman messing up the justice system which let criminals go on technicalities.
Oh, okay. So this is the route that we're going, huh? How is Batman messing with a system that's fundamentally broken to begin with? And Harvey Dent was driven insane after the incident that made him Two-Face, which he then blamed Batman for.
Settle down, Dent.
Don't call me that!
I don't believe that.
I wish I was dead. I'm a freak because of you.
That wasn't my fault.
You're the man who put that acid-throwing bastard in the dock. You said we'd save Gotham.
I'm sorry, Harvey.
Multiple prohibited items.
I want Joker searched again.
It's not the patient. It's
Ooh, would you sneak in with your bats?
I think all the guns the guards are carrying would also trip the scan. Not just Batman's equipment, which speaking of, he's only carrying batarangs and the Batclaw this time. I'm not sure which of those trip the scan, but it does give me a nice moment to point out how under-equipped Batman is tonight for no other reason than upgrade progression.
Darty, the guards' guns aren't the concern. So even if they do trip the alarms, the person monitoring the security system would likely just ignore it for obvious reasons. As for Batman, he's only carrying batarangs and the grappling hook as far as equipment available to the player. He gets the Batclaw when he first visits his makeshift Batcave after his fight with Bane. And so what if he's under-equipped? It's a very clever part of the game's narrative to show how Batman has to further equip himself to deal with the crisis as it gets progressively worse, among other excellent game design choices.
I mean, don't you think it's a little bit funny how a fire at Blackgate caused hundreds of my crew to be moved here?
That would normally be me pointing out just how unseriously they are taking this, but Joker decided to sin the game himself and no one, not even Batman, took notice.
Now this sin I do agree with, but to an extent. Yes, the Joker is now spelling out part of his plan, and maybe Batman could have taken a bit more measure as a precaution, but the fact is, Batman isn't omniscient, and he is still only a mortal man. He cannot predict every possible outcome all the time. I mean, what could Batman have done by this point to prevent any of it, with Harley Quinn already being in the control room and him not knowing about it? And before anyone asks, what about Robin and Nightwing? This brings forth my problem with this version of Batman, in that he probably would have told them to stay in Gotham and Bloodhaven respectively, and told them he could handle the current situation. Although in that case, it's justified given Joker's broadcasted warning for no cops, other vigilantes, or even other heroes to show up, and his unpredictable nature.
I'm going to assume the staff are trained to deal with violent situations when they house the most dangerous criminals in the world. Yet when Joker starts choking a guard with his handcuffs, this orderly has a genius idea of undoing the cuffs instead of braining Joker with his fist or a blunt object.
This can sometimes be the problem when making assumptions, as assumptions are the mother of all f***ups. The orderly here clearly panicked and thought unlocking the cuffs was a better idea, presumably to loosen the grip the Joker would have had and free the guard. And the orderlies and doctors are most certainly not trained to deal with violent situations in Arkham Asylum, hence why there are heavily armed security guards working here. Hell, I even discovered this.
When they caught the doctor, I'll never forget the noise he made. If anyone tries to get up here, I'm knocking them back. No prisoners. Pal, this ain't worth it for 15 lousy bucks an hour.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
Pal, this ain't worth it for 15 lousy bucks an hour. 15 lousy bucks an hour. 15.
Yo, y'all hear this shit? $15 an hour to work on an island where some of the most dangerous supercriminals in DC Comics are committed. Anyway, also, what the hell is this?
Welcome to the madhouse, Batman! I set a trap, and you sprang it gloriously!
Joker's entire plan relied on Batman deciding to tag along as they rolled him down the hallway to a cell. Had Batman got back in the Batmobile after handing Joker off, things would have went a bit awry.
What are you talking about? Even if Batman had left, the Joker simply could have sprung into action in a different way, since as I said before, Harley Quinn was already in the control room. Either way, Batman would have gotten involved.
All of the inmates from Blackgate Prison were transferred to Arkham after a fire tonight, and every one of them are Joker's goons. If this many of Joker's men had already been locked up, then he didn't have much of a criminal empire left, unless the game is telling me that all of them intentionally got themselves sent to prison so they could fulfill Joker's plan.
This guy must not have played this game himself if this is what he thinks is how many henchmen the Joker has working for him. Joker literally says this in the elevator, which you have to be deaf or purposely not paying attention to in order to miss.
How come they let Batman pass?
Sweet! Great night for a party!
Not where you're going.
The night is young, Bats. I still have a trick or two up my sleeve. I mean, don't you think it's a little bit funny how a fire at Blackgate caused hundreds of my crew to be moved here?
And that's not even counting the ones clearly still outside of correctional facilities. Who the hell do you think helped set up bombs that the GCPD started finding in Gotham City? Bomberman?
Why would there be an electric chair in Arkham Asylum? Anyone interred here would have been declared insane, meaning they couldn't be executed for their crimes.
Really sad that I have to point this out, but that chair is for electroshock therapy, not executions. This is an asylum, not a prison.
There is another exceptional error here, Omega. Dartigan uses the term interred, which is substantially incorrect. Corpses would be interred, and more so if this were primarily a morgue. The location in this fictional setting is an asylum, which means living human beings would be committed. I would advise understanding the definition of words you utilize, human.
Oh, hiya, B-Man. Harley Quinn here.
Arkham Asylum is one big love letter to the original Batman the Animated Series, recasting Mark Hamill as Joker, Arlene Sorkin as Harley Quinn, and Kevin Conroy as Batman. Being the card-carrying 90s kid that I am, that earns you a sin-off.
Absolutely no dispute here. My only disappointment relevant with this sin removal and regarding the series as a whole is that Arlene Sorkin never returned after this game.
I'm now subbing for the old man.
I would really love to know how Harley managed to sneak into Arkham Asylum where staff would recognize her, seeing as she used to work here, and take Warden Sharp hostage along with complete control of the facility with absolutely no effort.
The answer to the question you're presenting is Frank Bowles. Harley has also been shown and known to disguise herself convincingly enough.
Joker just took control of Arkham, yet there was a Titan already locked up in the cell that Joker releases. How did no one at Arkham know that one of the doctors here was working on this if you need to store them in massive vaults?
Again, Frank Bowles. I know it may be a little hard to believe that this one seemingly unimportant senior and corrupt guard has so much influence, but you'd be surprised.
Now stop me if you've heard this one before, but fighting a Titan involves letting it run at Batman, dodging out of the way so it smacks into a wall, and then punching it. I don't think this plan of Joker's to create an army of Titans is that big of a threat. Just fly in some bullfighters from Spain and you have an effective counter strategy.
No? Thousands of these monstrosities will do a hell of a lot more than charging and running into things. Not to mention, not everyone in DC is a superhero.
Seeing as how I'm feeling generous, I'll give you this one for free. Knock me off, I dare you. End this. Pull the plug. Stop me once and for all.
Why is there a huge pit one could fall to their death in doing in the middle of an asylum anyway? I can't think of any reason a building built for holding the mentally ill would need a pit.
There are two possibilities to address your confusion, Dartigan. To begin with, Arkham Asylum is an exceptionally old facility that has not been modernized in several areas, and it is located on an island which is surrounded by water. The areas with large water pits I predict can assist in security, discouraging escape attempts lest possibly plummeting and risk drowning. Outdated and gothic infrastructure is very present consistently in the works of Batman from my recorded studies on Omega's endeavors.
I've seen Batman jump off a multi-story building to save Joker in Origins. I'm confident he can knock Joker off and still grab him.
I really don't understand this sin at all. You're sinning this scene because Batman didn't throw the Batarang to hit the Joker? You do know also that doing this runs the possibility that the Joker can in fact fall into the pit and die, right? A better sin would have been if you pointed out how Batman already did it without hesitating before the Joker dared him.
Mr. J doesn't want you following us just yet.
Harley could have blown that elevator without climbing down to the bottom just so she could ride the counterweight back up and likely kill herself, and Joker knows Batman has a grappling hook. At best, this slows him down by a few minutes.
That's the fucking point. To slow him down. Even a few minutes makes a difference.
I'm used to the moon appearing bigger in fiction for the visual, but that's crossing the line. It looks so close that it would start sweeping up all the artificial satellites.
Dartigan, I guess, has never heard of supermoons.
For a man famous for being prepared for every possible situation, Batman in this game doesn't live up, leaving his explosive gel in the Batmobile like a normal person would leave their phone on the dash.
Oh, he doesn't live up, does he? So what about the secret Batcave he has on the island that not even Oracle knew about? And how could Batman have known beforehand that he was going to need the explosive gel? Do all of his cases and scenarios involving needing to blow things up happen as often as a regular person needing their cell phone? Especially with the warning that it says right here in the scene you show. Like, what?
Only Scarecrow.
Batman hears Scarecrow talking, sees this happen, and doesn't take a single measure to protect himself or avoid fear gas. World's best detective, my ass.
More like paying attention, my ass. Here's what you cut out.
Too easy. Oh, think about it. I got you trapped in a little metal box, hanging precariously over a deadly drop. What say I just blow the emergency brakes and drop you like a sack of puppies? Say goodnight, bats. Boom! Only kidding. Got a few more surprises in store for you. Prepare to face your fears. All of them!
How exactly could Batman have avoided this?
I'm guessing fear gas can be made from regular household cleaners, because Scarecrow managed to cook up a batch while being locked up inside Arkham. For some reason, they also let him wear his outfit. I never got the impression that Arkham was that accommodating.
And we're off with the multi-sins. First off, not enough people give a damn about what concoctions make up the fear gas. It would boggle down the game considerably if it literally paused to give you a lesson on how that shit is made. If you're so curious, it could have been made from the mushrooms you see in the Scarecrow's hideout. Besides, if there was a file in the game that you can unlock to read, chances are you wouldn't bother to do that either. Now for the rest of the crap your sin tries to criticize, here are some explanations.
Because Scarecrow managed to cook up a batch while being locked up inside Arkham.
Frank Bowles likely had a hand in Scarecrow being allowed out of his cell to make his plans involving setting up a secret hideout in an elevator shaft. He did this because he knew about the Joker planning his takeover of Arkham Island. And finally, the Scarecrow was likely released from his cell when the Joker took over, and he could have gotten his outfit from the said secret hideout.
With all that being said, I like this version of the Scarecrow a lot more than the one in Arkham Knight, even if every indie game since this has used it as an excuse to make entire games around someone dealing with their psychological issues by jumping on platforms in a fantasy world.
I would almost inquire what other indie games have utilized sequences such as this. However, I believe it is best not to ask instead. You are subtracting a sin for this brilliant segment, and that is all that ultimately matters.
Since Batman knows Scarecrow is running around the asylum, how about doing what he does in every other game and analyze the compounds and make an antidote, or request a gas mask at the very least? Instead, he will brush the entire sequence off like nothing happened until it happens again, and then a third time after that.
You're kind of asking a lot from Batman here. Yes, maybe a gas mask could help tons here, but analyzing the compounds to make an antidote I can imagine is pretty difficult to do, since although Batman has breathed them in, it could take a lot of time. This would mean needing to get blood samples and a lot of experimenting. Batman kind of has his hands full, and his priority is the Joker after all. Not to mention as well, Batman is resilient to the fear gas, having been exposed to it before as revealed in Scarecrow's 5th audio tape.
Asylum Interview 1. My experiment is underway. Working alone, I have created my ultimate fear gas. Its potency, a revelation. They're all over me! Please, Daddy. Don't do it! Good boy. I have pumped enough gas into the medical center to break 100 minds. It should only be a matter of time before... What?
give it up. Now!
How are you still standing? How come it's not affecting you?
Who says it's not?
I knew it. What was it like? What have you seen?
Officer Cash, get this formula to the air conditioning system, now! You failed, Crane. Again. I've been working with Dr. Kellogg in creating an antidote to the toxins in your cologne. He fooled you, Crane. How does that make you feel? Threatened? Humiliated? Scared?
The one in this game could be newer or more potent.
Batman doesn't bother restraining Harley after knocking her out so he can see who Joker has locked up down there, as if his curiosity to see overcame the concern that Harley might walk out the door while he was distracted.
I mean, do you see Batman restrain anyone in this game after knocking them out? Besides, Harley really was knocked down and could have been interrogated sooner than how it happens later had it maybe not been Bane who was the mystery patient X.
Cut me down.
Who did this to you?
Dr. Young, the Bruja. She drained the venom from my blood.
Bane's body doesn't produce venom as far as I'm aware. Wouldn't they just need to suck it out of the tank he carries on his back?
It's not just venom that they were after. Dr. Young specifically needed Bane as venom perfectly assimilated with him.
If you've ever thrown a water balloon at a wall before, you have a pretty good idea what should have just happened to Batman.
The Batsuit helped prevent what should have happened to Batman.
All of these years later, and Bane still hasn't learned to do anything but run straight at Batman. I've always found Bane boring as a character, but it shouldn't be that hard to design a better boss fight around the guy.
Wasn't a huge glaring issue for me, but the fact that this shares too many similarities with the Titan henchmen still make this a solid point.
I will break you, Batman! Then the Bruja!
No, Bane. This time I break you!
When I originally played this game, I thought they were referring to the time when Bane broke Batman's back, but that never happened in the Arkham series, so I have no idea what Batman is even referring to.
He is referring to that event because it did happen at some point. It's right here in Bane's profile that you can easily unlock. Now I know that some of Arkham Asylum's character profiles are questionable when it comes to continuity, but I believe Bane is a safe bet because in his profile in Arkham City, the same detail pops up again. Nightfall presumably just didn't happen the same way it did during the original Nightfall comic. You have less excuses here, because unlike Resident Evil 6, important story details are in the game and they're unlocked much easier than obscure, easy-to-miss objects that have to be attacked. Also, Batman himself kind of acknowledges Nightfall in the same scene you show.
I will break you, Batman! Then the Bruja!
No, Bane. This time I break you!
When I originally Batman summons the Batmobile to knock Bane into the bay. However, the Batmobile would have had to crash through a locked gate to reach this area, and the gate is still intact.
Finally, we've come to this sin. I have received some information to help explain my confusion a bit, but even after trying to reevaluate my original sin removal and digging around on the internet, I'm still unfortunately unsure and not entirely convinced on this theory I'm going to use. I'm going to go off script for this portion, but let me show you guys something. So here we go. So you see, this is the area right after the boss fight with Bane, or at least after I escaped after the little sewer system. This is Arkham North. That's where the Batmobile is parked right there. And that's, of course, where I am. It's pretty self-explanatory. So the Batmobile, was theorized to have gone through this path, there through Arkham North into East, and then gone through East back into Arkham West. That's the widely believed theory. But, and I'll point this out exactly, the gate is locked for Arkham East. You can clearly see it right there how it says it. So, how the hell it got through there, I have no idea. So, let's now, here with Batman, let's go through the widely other believed way that it could have actually possibly came through. Okay, Arkham North gate works just fine, as you can see. That gate never works once in the game. That's totally understandable, totally by design. Batmobile is right there in this area. Right there in front of the intensive treatment building. The Arkham East gate. Here we can see the Batmobile had to have passed through because the gates are no longer there. As you can see, they're on the floor. So it had to have knocked them down in the process. But then here we come to another big problem, which you'll see. Here are the gates that lead to the west side. As you can see, they're also locked. So how the hell did the Batmobile get to Arkham West? Well, as you guys can see, I'm extremely confused right here. But anyway, the first time that you're able to actually access that gate is right here in this gameplay section, which I recorded. This is right after you've already dealt with everything in the mansion, and as you can see from the objective, this is when Harley Quinn has captured the Warden, and you have to follow him, follow his DNA trail, so that you can actually obtain his DNA, and eventually find the Titan production unit in the Botanical Gardens. This is actually the first time where you're actually able to access the Arkham East doorway, where it'll actually unlock for the first time, right here. There it unlocks. If the Batmobile went through this path, how the hell did it get through here? I mean, yeah, it could have easily knocked down the gates, no problem, but who the hell put it back up if it did go this way? Look at this, look at this. So it went through that gate, it went through this one also, and someone also put it up? Oh, before we continue, let me just knock out these guards real fast.
It's the back!
Or should say Joker's thugs. Alright, he won't be walking again for a while. Alright, there we go. Now back to business. So anyway, the Batmobile passed through this, and it also crashed through this gate to go down the stairs? Yeah, now the gate's open, but it wasn't open before like I showed you guys. So, I honestly don't get it. The only theory I have, which is similar to one I read online, is that Batman could have had the door unlocked for the Batmobile itself to pass through. Maybe when he was signaling the Batmobile on his gauntlet, he was also activating overrides for the door for the car to get through. It's a major cop-out for me, I admit, but I have very little to work with, and I think Rocksteady should have just had it go straight through these doors and have them demolished in the process. So for this sin, I'll neither remove nor add a sin, but I'll coin it just to acknowledge it.
Batcave on Arkham Island?
I built it years ago. It's best to plan ahead for situations like this.
How'd you manage to keep this a secret?
It's me, remember?
But Arkham Asylum was only opened a few years ago. Batman would have had to build the Batcave under it during the renovation, and Oracle used to be Batgirl. How would she be unaware of an alternative Batcave?
Okay, first off, you get a sin for this typo since your speech doesn't match, and what you actually say makes the first part of your sin even more ridiculous, since Arkham Asylum was established a long time ago. Second, Batman said he's been transferring materials to this location for years, ever since he first discovered the cave system when he prevented a suicide attempt. One way he was able to accomplish this was under his secret identity as Bruce Wayne, since as Bruce Wayne, he's made donations to the facility. He easily could have materials needed for the Batcave delivered here since, after all, this is Batman we're talking about. And third, even though it's obvious going by the dialogue, Batman kept it a secret from even his closest allies. That's how Oracle was unaware.
So do you think Dr. Young's been experimenting with Venom? The same chemical that turns Bane into that animal?
Yes, I'm worried. Bane seemed even more powerful than usual.
Bane was a lot weaker than the last time you fought him at Blackgate. Batman couldn't even confront him directly at the end.
Batman is referring to the last time he actually fought him chronologically, which was not in that game.
Killer Croc's lair is only a stone's throw away from the Batcave.
The f*** is he talking about?
Dartigan, I get that you're trying to say that they're not very far from each other, but I'll ask, why is that a sin? It's not like Batman intended this. He basically found the cave system by accident. That's beside the fact that Killer Croc isn't the sharpest blade in the tool shed, and the Arkham Batcave has security measures to protect it from intrusion.
According to her bank records, there have been multiple payments starting last April until 2 months ago. Then nothing. The payments came from a company owned by Mr. Jack White.
One of Joker's oldest aliases. So, Joker pays Dr. Young to create his army, and then all of a sudden he stops.
Joker was paying Dr. Young to create the Titan formula using Bane's venom, until Dr. Young had a change of heart and stopped taking his money and responding. And instead of kidnapping her and forcing her to hand over the research, he decided to get himself sent to Arkham, along with all the prisoners in Blackgate, so he could get the Titan formula and create an army of Titans here.
Okay, what the fuck was this shit? This guy just recapped Joker's entire reasoning for this plot happening and sinned the game for it. None of that involved telling us why that's something wrong with this game. Don't you realize that the Joker taking control of the asylum, freeing the inmates that have been committed, and having his henchmen all over the island creates a big enough disturbance and distraction for Batman to focus on while Joker accomplishes what he wanted done before?
If you want something done, do it yourself.
Dr. Young risked her life getting to her office to grab the notes on the Titan formula, then instead of destroying them, hid them inside of a book in the library.
This may seem like it was intentionally done by Penelope Young. Even with my enhanced intelligence, I cannot be entirely certain, but I theorize that Penelope Young intended in secrecy to in fact continue experimentation in one form or another. My theory initiated when observing her choice of words from this recorded evidence.
I've been a fool. Joker was behind it all. He's Jack White. He gave me the money, pulled the strings to release Bane. How could I not have seen it? He's been blackmailing me. He has a crazy plan to create an army of monsters. I want out, but...
But what, exactly?
Here's Crime Alley again, courtesy of Scarecrow's fear gas. A grown man like Bruce Wayne still crying over his parents who have been dead for decades at this point doesn't make me feel for him.
This may be a fictional character, and this may be a game, but that's a pretty shitty thing to say. It ranks right up there with that tasteless joke in your video on The Evil Within, and like I said then, I'll say it here. Fuck this sin.
Monster, you evil, evil, evil monster!
I'm beginning to see why the psychologists at Arkham have a hard time treating the mental illnesses of their patients.
But since you won't bother to share this opinion, what was the point of even saying all of this?
I tried to give him his money back.
Why did you ever agree to it in the first place? You work in an insane asylum and understand Joker well enough to know that giving him a formula that would allow him to create an army of Banes would be a pretty bad idea.
That wasn't Dr. Young's idea. Although the methods she utilized were most certainly highly questionable, like using Bane as a test subject against his will, her idea for a Titan is explained right here.
Will all patients please remain calm and move slowly to their accommodation?
Let me introduce you all to the sterling work of our new head of research, Dr. Penelope Young. Since joining our team 2 years ago, Arkham is now at the forefront of research into understanding the human mind.
Good afternoon, Arkham. Let's talk about the mind. How can such a complex entity be understood and eventually treated when it breaks? How indeed. Project Titan's goal is to create a testbed to fully probe our special cases in a safe, risk-free manner. Our goal is to cure the more unfortunate specimens, the weak, those not physically up to the challenge that our medical practices present. Project Titan will make us a world-class facility, an award-winning facility.
Accommodation.
Our findings have led to debates about whether psychosis is in itself neurotoxic, and whether potentially damaging changes to the brain are related to the length of psychotic episodes. Project Titan allows us to strengthen the individual's ability to cope with such changes. Early results were promising, but it was only after the arrival of Patient X that our expectations were raised. Patient X was the catalyst that led to a full-scale adoption of the Titan process. We must all thank our benefactors for this opportunity.
Also, clearly you didn't listen to all of the interview tapes that you can find in the game, since you're questioning why the Doctor would accept payments from the Joker.
I've been a fool. Joker was behind it all. He's Jack White. He gave me the money, pulled the strings to release Bane. How could I not have seen it? He's been blackmailing me. He has a crazy plan to create an army of monsters. I want out, but...
God, he has gallons of the stuff.
If Joker already had his hands on gallons of Titan formula, why did he have his men spend so much time looking for Dr. Young and her formula? And why wasn't Dr. Young concerned about Joker getting his hands on the Titan formula that had already been produced?
Unexpected, wasn't it? Oh well, note to self, need stronger test subjects.
That's one reason why. Notice how that Titan henchman has very disproportionate limbs compared to the ones we see later?
I give the game props for hiding its sequel bait in a hidden room inside the game rather than sticking it at the end of the credits, but then the after credits bait a sequel anyway.
You probably should have removed the sin here due to how well this clue was hidden. Also, why do your subtitles not match what you say? Why not improve the formula that CinemaSins introduce as opposed to something objectively worse?
At this point, Omega, are you really expecting high-quality improvements?
Ugh, I'm just trying to be hopeful and constructive, SC. Can you really blame me?
Poison Ivy is the only female prisoner in Arkham, and they locked her up inside a glass cell surrounded by crazed male lunatics who probably haven't seen a woman in years, let alone one who's half-naked and secretes pheromones that drive men wild. This would classify as cruel and unusual punishment in a civilized country.
Do you really think the supervillain that can mind control men, as you see later in the game, and has control over plant life, has anything to worry about as far as being intimidated by someone who isn't Batman?
I wonder what happens to Poison Ivy's leaf panties in the fall and winter.
Didn't you sin both Arkham City and Arkham Knight before this game? That would imply you played and paid attention to both of those games, therefore you know Poison Ivy wears a very similar outfit in the sequels, and that Arkham City takes place in the winter, while Arkham Knight happens during fall. Of course, my mistake there is that I think you paid attention. Either way, Dartigan goes the extra mile to feign ignorance, and that warrants extra sins.
If you find her, don't go easy on her. For me.
Beat her like I beat my wife. Just really lay into her, Batman. For me.
Hands off the merchandise! That's my party list!
Batman isn't above copping a feel when the opportunity presents itself.
So, according to Dartigan, using a couple of fingers to grab a piece of paper located inside a woman's bra, and I'm gonna pause for effect here, because this dude even slows down the scene to show it, is copping a feel.
Batman visits every part of Arkham during this game, and he never runs across most of the people on the party list, even still inside of a cell. Also, if we're respecting the series lore, somewhere in Arkham is Jason Todd right now, and Joker never considered using him against Batman during all of this. Imagine had he turned Jason into a Titan to fight Batman at the end.
You know what? You gotta learn how to lie better.
Batman does not visit every section of Arkham Island. there's the area that you can see the Joker enter after the first Titan henchman boss fight, which the player cannot access. It's called Extreme Isolation according to the guard. And so what if you don't see all the characters on the party list? Haven't you ever heard of the term, less is more? Also, here you go again sinning this game for a plot point that isn't revealed until a sequel is made. Arkham Asylum was released in 2009, while Arkham Knight was released in 2015. Not only that, Rocksteady made the foolish mistake, in my opinion, to not make sure Paul Dini was the writer of this game like he was of Asylum and City. What is the point of mentioning plot details of a game that was not even conceived until after the first sequel of this game?
Batman scans Harley's handprint even though her palm is covered by a glove.
Batman has a criminal database and likely has her prints already on file though. All he pretty much needed was just her fingers, which were uncovered.
I would ask why Arkham has such a huge botanical garden, but I'm more interested in knowing why it has hanging medieval-style cages inside of it.
The Botanical Gardens is said to be the oldest structure on this island, along with the Arkham Mansion, and it's based on old Gothic Victorian-era architecture. That would explain the medieval-style cages and the gargoyle statues, among other things.
Adding a second Titan doesn't change the fact that it's the same fight. Allow the Titan to run at Batman, jump out of the way so they run into the wall, repeat.
Oh, is that right? What about the fact that you can use one of the Titans to smack the hell out of the other Titan? That throws a monkey wrench in your statement of this being the same fight.
I have a sample of her pheromone signature on record. She'll be somewhere in the gardens. I'll track her down.
Master Wayne, when and why exactly did you have Mr. Lucius Fox design you a device for sniffing out female pheromones? That's quite specific.
First off, that trashy ass impression. Second, so you're asking why is Batman trying to find a specific way to always be able to track one of his most powerful enemies? Anyone else find this incredibly rhetorical?
There's a plant growing deep in Arkham Island. Only it can counter the effects of this Titan strain.
Where do I find it?
Oh, in Killer Croc's lair.
That is a miracle then. Venom isn't produced in Gotham, and the plants Dr. Young created with the Venom to manufacture Titan are brand new. So why would a plant growing underground in a sewer have the ability to neutralize a compound it has no reason to neutralize? Poison Ivy is starting to sound more like that girl from high school you know who was selling essential oils as a cure-all on her Facebook page rather than a supercriminal.
I'm no botanist, but I suspect neither are you. However, Poison Ivy is. That, and the fact that she now has a better and more direct understanding of plant life, I think qualifies her in knowing what the hell she's talking about more than you on this subject.
They don't call you Ivy for nothing, do they, dear? I was hoping for a 40-foot killer plant, but you don't always get what you want, do you?
Joker shoots Ivy with a double dose of Titan, but instead of bulking out, it just lets her do what she's always been capable of, control plants. And for some reason, she doesn't kill Joker, even though he would have to be in the same room with her to shoot her with the dart. And finally, I'm pretty certain Poison Ivy is immune to all toxins, so Titan shouldn't do jack squat to her.
Another f***ing multi-sin. 1. Joker yes injected Poison Ivy with Titan, but this didn't cause any severe mutations on the outside. Her abilities, however, were supercharged on a grand scale, as her plants were now strong enough to take over the entire island. If she was this powerful and capable as you're saying, then why didn't she do this before? 2. The Joker's crazy, but not stupid. If he was the one to shoot her with a Titan dart, he could have immediately vacated the premises before Poison Ivy could really react, as she was probably adapting to her new increase in chlorokinesis. Besides, she does say she'll be going after the Joker.
You will pay, Batman, for hurting my baby.
Oh, God. Does she ever stop going on about those plans of hers?
When I finish with Batman, I'll be coming after you.
Will you really? Well, that's gratitude, isn't it? Women. You give them presents, experimental chemicals, and nice costumes, and they still turn on you. Well, good luck to you, toots. I got an army, a city-sized dose of Titan, and a bag of weed killer. Come and find me when you're done with that raid. Ooh, it'll be fun. You can bring the wine. I'll make the salad.
Regardless, in case you forgot, her beef is mostly with Batman. 3. Another load of bullshit, and it further shows just how pitiful your research into this particular source material is. It's never brought into the forefront, but Poison Ivy did suffer an overdose like the Joker subsequently did, and in fact, almost died from it. This was revealed in an Arkham City story from Batman Arkham City, which you sinned before this game.
This time Scarecrow's gas triggers
freeze, bitch!
Sinning this sequence. I'll let Simon Phoenix handle this one.
What? F you!
Your repeated button.
This time Scarecrow's gas triggers insanity effects lift.
Reading is fundamental.
You can really tell that a man did the motion capture for Harley Quinn when you look at that attempt at doing a hip sway.
I would still not consider that an actual negative about this video game, human. Perhaps only a male was available for the motion capture work required. It is not as simple as you would assume.
Even in Batman's nightmare, he has to repeat the Bane boss fight again.
That's not exactly true. Yes, he is actually fighting a Titan henchman who appears as a skeleton bigger than the others, but these Titan fights are significantly different than the others. All you need to do is throw one batarang at it, and when it crashes, it's defeated. There's no rinse and repeat tactics here, unlike the other Titan fights and Bane's boss battle. You also cannot jump on the back of this Titan to have him strike the other enemies.
How are you doing this?
This is Scarecrow's third time dosing Batman with fear gas, and he is only now surprised that Batman is resilient to it.
How do you know he wasn't surprised before? This is the first time we actually see Scarecrow outside of one of these nightmare sequences confronting Batman, meaning we don't know exactly how he reacted when he realized he failed the first 2 times.
You've ingested enough toxins to drive dead men insane!
Ingested is the wrong word. Inhaled and being injected were the causes.
Hey, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Dartigan, but there's a fabulous website on the internet that's called Google. It allows you to search for a nigh infinite number of websites and sources that offer critical and correct data that answers questions and offers important information for research purposes. As an example, I decided to look up the meaning of the word ingested. Take a look at what I found.
One step closer, and this goes into the water. The cave will fill with your deepest, darkest nightmares.
So dropping that bag into the water will somehow contaminate the area so thoroughly that this time it will surely drive Batman insane, when the other 3 times it didn't.
It's pretty apparent that thinking Dartigan would look into something before he attempts to criticize it isn't a strong trait of his. What the Scarecrow is holding in that bag are the toxins in their purest form that help create his fear gas. I'm no biochemist, but the Scarecrow is. And what he's illustrating here is that the toxins mixing in with all of the water in the sewers, that has a hell of a lot of water in it, will make the subsequent contamination so strong it would give Tachi a run for its money. Batman was only injected with the stronger dose of the fear toxin once, so honestly, he's been lucky up to this point.
And you will never reach your precious venom roots.
How does Scarecrow know Batman is after plants down here in the sewers? Batman never discussed that with anyone but Poison Ivy.
This is actually a decent question. It's never been openly addressed in the games, but it's hinted strongly that the Joker keeps contact with the Scarecrow, and there's reason to believe he did so all the way up until the ending of Arkham City. Hell, there's this line in the game itself.
You again? You're early! Sit down! I suppose I can squeeze you in. I've been comparing notes with Dr. Crane. He seems a little worried about your progress. According to his notes, you should have come over to our side by now. What is it that keeps you going? Doesn't it ever get boring?
Taking another educated guess, the Joker learned about Batman trying to make a cure through poison ivy, and the Joker subsequently passed that information to the Scarecrow.
Scarecrow survives this.
I'd like to once again point out that Dartigan has sinned Batman Arkham Knight, where the Scarecrow is the main antagonist, before sinning this game. I don't think I need to point out how stupid this sin is, do I?
The repeated Bane fights were bad enough, but Killer Croc is just a slow crawl through the sewers and hitting him with batarangs whenever he pops up, and then it turns into a Crash Bandicoot level at the end. Batman fought Killer Croc on a rooftop in Origins, but now he's a bigger threat than Bane.
I went easy on you before when I first covered this sin. Gloves off this time. First, I get the criticism for the long drawn out repetition in this section, but you said repeated Bane fights. What the hell does that mean? You only fight Bane once, and almost all of the Titan Henchman fights had at least one detail that made each encounter unique. Next, you are definitely getting extra sins for sinning this section involving Killer Croc. This is a brilliant reversal of the Predator becoming the prey. Instead of Batman being in complete control of the situation, stalking his enemies, taking them down easily, the roles have been reversed. And now Batman, and subsequently the player, is in a situation that Joker's henchmen have been constantly in throughout the entire game. Details like this, and among others, is why this game is my favorite of the series as far as story and atmosphere.
I think Batman just helped Killer Croc escape rather than deal with him.
It's possible he could have escaped due to this, given how he could be the character to grab the Titan crate at the end. But there are other possibilities that you probably didn't consider. Maybe the chasm he falls into still leads to a section of the sewer he's already inside of? You really can't blame the Dark Knight, as I don't think he had any other way to incapacitate Killer Croc quickly.
How close are you to making the cure?
Close. It's been more difficult than I expected.
If it only takes you minutes to synthesize a cure for a mutagenic compound, then it couldn't have been that difficult.
He was talking about the third Scarecrow encounter and having to deal with Killer Croc just to get the spores, genius.
I'm at the main sewer junction, and it appears to be polluted with Titan.
Arkham Asylum isn't very long, and generally has tight pacing, but even good games sometimes pad the runtime. That's why here, at the end of the game, Batman is running around a sewer shutting off water valves.
Just amazing! Coming from the guy who pads the runtime on his videos by feigning ignorance, misrepresenting character motivations, manipulating scenes, failing to do proper research on a source material, and making up lies that never happen in a game. Not like how I padded the length of this in to get my point across, because...
Have you noticed that every villain Batman fights in this game gets dropped down a hole or into water? Bane, Scarecrow, Killer Croc, and now Poison Ivy have all been taken out the same way, which leads me to believe Batman should consider investing in trapdoors.
Oh shit, he's right here. Even the Joker gets knocked down a hole and gets swept up into the Pacific Ocean. I guess I should remove a sin here. Anyway, also, this motherfucker once again finds the most paperweight set of cojones to say that
Bane, Scarecrow, Killer Croc, and now Poison Ivy have all been taken out the same way. The same way.
Yo, just holy mother of God, man. Dude who doesn't pay attention, listen and watch. Bane is knocked into the water on the west side surrounding Arkham Island with the Batmobile. The Scarecrow is grabbed by Killer Croc in the old sewer and falls into the water with him after Batman tries to stop Killer Croc. Killer Croc falls into a trap set by Batman. And Poison Ivy is basically defeated and descends into whatever sinkhole her giant plant sprung from in the first place. And of these four, 2 of them were planned by Batman.
Here's a double Titan fight. You know, that boss fight we had previously. There's no differences here. Just use the same tactic for the 1000th time and you're golden.
For fuck's sake, enough with repeating the same fucking sin to pad this ridiculous video. You're wrong again, by the way. The difference in this fight as opposed to the first time you fight 2 Titan henchmen simultaneously is that this time you also fight the Joker's non-Titan henchmen all at the same time.
You deserve a prize. Your old pal, Commissioner.
Just How? Did I miss a call from Oracle that explained that Gordon came back to Arkham Asylum and was captured?
You could have just left it at the just how part, even though that part could be explained partially. But then, you had to go and open a can of worms. Do you really think that Oracle wouldn't have told Batman if she knew?
Batman! Get away!
Here we go! We're gonna have some fun now, kiddies!
You're trying to resist the change!
This could have been a moment when the cure was given a purpose, maybe by having to fight Titan Gordon and curing him.
Very well, human. But may I ask, how does that exactly invalidate what occurs during the events of this video game? According to your logic, the cure still served a purpose by curing Batman and preventing his transformation into a Titan monster.
Please welcome our special guest referee!
Gordon was hanging by a chain seconds ago when Joker shot himself with a Titan dart. Now Gordon is somehow in an electric chair on the roof after Joker dragged Batman up here.
Have you considered the possibility that the Joker probably set everything up, including Gordon in the chair, before he brought Batman up to the roof? He has lots of henchmen helping him, might I remind you. Oh, who am I kidding? Anyway, you skipped the scene that says 10 minutes passed.
Arkham Asylum remains under lockdown, its staff at the mercy of the rampaging inmates. Just 10 minutes ago, we received this taped message.
Greetings, Gotham! Joker here! Arkham is mine! Soon I'll unleash madness untold onto the streets of Gotham. But first, direct your eyes to the rooftops and witness the final destruction of your dear Dark Knight.
We've been circling the town.
You know you want to.
Never.
You wasted the antidote on yourself!
I agree with Joker. Batman was resisting the change and he could have saved himself a fight if he'd injected Joker instead.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Batman was only delaying the inevitable. He would have turned sooner or later if he didn't take the cure. Turning into a Titan himself could lead to disastrous results. His secret identity could be compromised for one, but another and far worse outcome is the games have definitely hinted both subtly and not so subtly at times that Batman himself is not a completely sane individual. A regular inmate becomes a rampaging monster once they change. I'm sure you didn't notice how the Joker only physically changed, so I won't bother asking that question. Now imagine Batman undergoing that same transformation.
Come to think of it, how could Batman even know the cure would work? That normally requires years of human and animal testing to prove. If the Batcomputer can design drugs and cures in minutes, then Batman is holding out on doing a lot of good for the world.
How could Batman have known that the cure would work? Is that a serious question? That might stem from this scene.
How close are you to making the cure?
Close. It's been more difficult than I expected. The process is slow, difficult, and doesn't produce much antidote.
And the good news?
The chemical will definitely stop Ivy. It may also reverse the Titan transformation. I need to run some more tests to be sure. I've set the computer.
No one ever said they loved this game for the boss fights, and it's easy to see why. Even the final battle against Joker is the game's most disappointing moment, despite turning.
And I'm gonna stop you right there because this shit goes on for too damn long. Sin removal for yes, pointing out this anticlimactic end boss fight, and skip the rest.
I wish I could have done that exploding gel on the fist move against all the other Titans. Could have made those fights a lot more interesting.
Motherfucker, do you not see what it did to Batman's arm? He's lucky it's still there after that attack.
And the venom-enhanced inmates are returning to normal. Though for some, the process can be quite painful.
Any one dose with Titan goes back to normal after a short while. What was the point of developing a cure for it then?
Well, I for one personally wouldn't want to see my bones visible on the outside. But that's just me. Clearly you wouldn't mind. And if that's not enough for you, I'll explain it this way. Having a cure to quickly reverse a transformation for something like this is not a bad thing at all. This game does not specify how long it takes for the transformation to wear off naturally, but one painfully clear fact is that it does last long enough for a single Titan monster to go on an indiscriminate rampage.
Harvey Dent was one of the names on Joker's party list along with his cell number, meaning he should have been locked up in Arkham, yet he's in Gotham robbing a bank right now.
Yet another reason why this video is just awful. Harvey's cell is located in the penitentiary in Arkham East. When the Joker released the other inmates after Harley released Poison Ivy, this could have been when Dent made his escape. I say this due to finding his empty cell, which you can only come across after the scene I described. Though I could be wrong on the timing, of course. Man, I can't believe anyone thinks your video is actually good.
It baits a sequel, but Scarecrow doesn't matter again until Arkham Knight, which was the fourth game, so delayed sequel baiting.
The character who grabs the crate can be Scarecrow, Bane, or Killer Croc. They're chosen by how many times you lose against them.
My deepest apologies, Omega, but shut the fuck up, please. This is one huge sin on your part, and if we were not sending Dartigan for this video, I'm afraid I would have had to conjure a counter up for you, solely for this inaccuracy.
When you're right, SC. Alright, my peeps. I telegraphed that one badly almost 3 years ago. Now, let me fix that pothole.
It baits a sequel, but Scarecrow doesn't matter again until Arkham Knight, which was the fourth game, so delayed sequel baiting.
The character who grabs the crate can be the Scarecrow whom you show here just for your convenience. But as many fans of the Arkhamverse can easily point out, this scene can change, resulting in the box being grabbed by the Scarecrow, or Killer Croc, or Bane. There doesn't seem to be a way to guarantee who grabs the crate from what I tried to look up, but I think just me bringing up that fact that you neglected to mention counts as you blatantly manipulating a scene to force a reference to a future sequel. That blatant scene manipulation is worth extra. How was that, SC?
What do I think of that, Omega?
Today my boy becomes a man.
I'm knocking him back. No prisoners. Pal, this ain't worth it for 15 lousy bucks an hour. 15 lousy bucks an hour. 15 lousy bucks an hour.
Hey everyone, OmegaBlackHeart here once again. Thank you guys for checking out this much needed update on one of my highest viewed videos. Now, I can put those old demons to sleep, and as of right now, I don't have any plans to remaster any more of my videos prior to my remaster of Resident Evil 5. For right now, I really need to move forward and bring you guys more installments, especially of videos I haven't touched yet. And speaking of moving forward, it's time to show you all the teaser of the next vid, and you guys all know what's coming, and I'm expecting the hype to build on what's next. Before I show you guys the teaser, as usual, I can't thank you all enough for helping this channel grow, and the community building here being very positive and supportive. So shout out to all of you. With that said, here's the teaser, and I'll keep you guys updated.
You!
Get out of my way, Quinn.
Leave us alone, B-Man! Just leave me with him.
I said move!
This is all your fault! You hounded him for years, beat him to a blow, and for what? Why are you so mean?
Surprise! You fell for the old fake Joker gag, Batman.
Batter up!
Before I end this video, because it's something that absolutely must be said, I want to ask you guys to please join me in saying goodbye to our beloved Batman himself, Kevin Conroy, who, as we all know, unfortunately passed away late last year at the age of 66. No words will ever take away our shock and pain when learning he was no longer with us, and I know there are others in this world who I'm sure cared for this man more than a lot of us will ever know. Of course, I, like all of you as part of a collected fan base, extend our deepest condolences to all of his loved ones still hurting to this day, including Kevin's husband, all of his family, and so many of his colleagues who loved him. In short, and in closing, we all miss you, Kevin. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the memories, and go into the night in peace.